I never imagined my life would split into two different worlds. And I definitely never pictured myself standing in front of a full-length mirror, legs shaking in a pair of heels, wrapped in a silk dress trimmed with lace that didn't belong to me, a dress that was never meant for me. But life has a strange way of exposing the parts of us we try hardest to hide, especially when we're pushed far enough. During the day I was simply him, quiet, dependable, almost invisible. The guy at the accounting firm who stayed late without complaint. The one who fixed everyone's spreadsheets and nodded politely in meetings. The one who always agreed even when every part of him wanted to refuse. I blended into the background so easily that people barely noticed I was there. But that wasn't the full story. Buried deep inside me was another side, one I barely understood myself. A secret part wrapped in years of confusion, shame, and curiosity. Something I tried to bury beneath button-down shirts and forced smiles. Yet it never truly disappeared. It started with small things. A strange fascination with soft fabrics. My fingers lingering on satin while folding laundry. Watching confident women walk in heels and skirts. The way they carried themselves like the world shifted slightly for them. At first I told myself it was harmless admiration. But the feeling grew. Soon I found myself sneaking little things into my room when no one else was home. Lipstick. A pair of tights. Eventually I ordered a wig online, my heart pounding as if I'd committed a crime. I deleted the confirmation email instantly, terrified someone might see it. I kept telling myself it was just curiosity. Just an experiment. Nothing more. But the day I finally stood in front of the mirror, fully transformed, I realized something I couldn't ignore anymore. I wasn't pretending to be someone else. I was looking at a version of myself that had been hiding for years. It was terrifying. But it also felt right. Of course no one knew. Not my coworkers. Not my friends. And definitely not her. My girlfriend was the complete opposite of me. Confident. Bold. Stunning in a way that made people stare when she entered a room. She moved through life without caring what anyone thought. I still had no idea how someone like her ended up with someone like me. Maybe she saw something in me that I couldn't see. Or maybe she simply liked how easy it was to control me. Our relationship had always carried that strange balance. She set the rules. I followed them. At first she seemed to like my quiet nature. She'd tease me, calling me her sweet thing, sometimes joking that I was more like her pet than her boyfriend. I laughed along with her. But those words lingered longer than she realized. Lately, though, something had changed. She'd grown distant. Colder. Her attention drifted elsewhere. During dinner she'd glance at her phone, smiling at messages she didn't show me. I never asked who they were from. Somehow I didn't want the answer. One evening she rushed out the door mentioning a girl's night. She didn't kiss me goodbye. The apartment fell silent the moment she left, the air still carrying the faint floral scent of her perfume. I told myself I wouldn't do it. I promised I'd resist. But as soon as the door shut behind her, my feet carried me straight to the closet. Inside was the box. My secret. I pulled it out slowly, almost reverently. Inside were clothes she didn't know I had borrowed. Makeup I'd learned to apply by secretly watching tutorials. And a small pair of kitten heels that made my pulse quicken every time I wore them. Everything I needed to become the other me. My hands trembled while applying foundation. My breathing quickened as the dress slid over my body, the silk cool against my skin. The sensation was electric. Like waking up after years of sleep. Like breathing properly for the first time. I told myself there was nothing wrong with it. She was out. I was alone. No one would ever know. Still, a small voice lingered in my mind. What if she found out? I pushed the thought aside. Tonight was mine. Just a few hours. Just enough time to remember what it felt like to feel complete. I turned toward the mirror. The wig sat slightly crooked. My eyeliner wasn't perfect. But none of that mattered. Because for once, the reflection looking back at me didn't feel like a stranger. She looked nervous, yes, but also alive. Braver than the quiet man who hid behind spreadsheets and polite smiles. Someone new. Someone beautiful. A smile slowly formed on my lips as I tilted my head, imagining what it might feel like to step outside into the world like this. And then, I heard it. A faint metallic sound. The front door unlocking. My blood turned to ice. I froze mid-step, the dress brushing softly against my legs as my heart pounded violently in my chest. Maybe I imagined it. She wasn't supposed to be home yet. Carefully, I moved into the hallway, placing each step as quietly as possible, as if silence alone could hide the truth of what I was wearing. I held my breath and listened. Nothing. No footsteps. No voice. Just the soft creaking sounds of the apartment settling. A nervous laugh slipped from my lips. Maybe it was just my imagination punishing me. Still uneasy, I walked to the door and turned the lock. The sound echoed in the quiet room like a guilty secret being sealed away. I stepped back and looked down at myself. Tonight I had gone further than ever before. The blush pink satin dress hugged my waist perfectly, clinging to my body like a second skin. The fabric rose slightly above my thighs, revealing the edge of a black lace garter whenever I moved. The heels were simple but elegant, black patent leather with a small bow across the toes. They forced me to stand differently, move differently, gracefully. My makeup still needed work, but I'd come a long way from the first clumsy attempts. Months of practice had taught me how to soften my features, how to make my eyes appear larger, how to add just the right touch of blush. It was never about becoming someone else. It was about unlocking something that had always been there. In the mirror, I studied the woman staring back at me. She looked nervous, but there was something else in her eyes too. A spark. A quiet confidence. For the first time in a long while, she looked like she truly belonged. I took a slow step forward and spun gently, letting out a quiet laugh that only I could hear. The dress fluttered around my legs, the smooth silk brushing across my skin. The feeling sent a rush through me that was impossible to ignore. Every movement felt alive. The fabric against my thighs, the balance of the heels, the faint scent of perfume in the air. It all created a strange mix of excitement and fear. There was something intoxicating about these stolen moments. The thrill of stepping into this hidden version of myself, paired with the constant risk of being discovered. And the thought of her made that danger feel even sharper. My girlfriend, Naomi. She was everything I wasn't. Bold where I was careful. Confident where I was unsure. Naomi had a way of commanding attention without trying. People noticed her the moment she walked into a room. She didn't need to raise her voice or make a scene. Her presence alone was enough. Being around her felt like standing next to a storm. Sometimes warm and dazzling like sunlight, sometimes dark and unpredictable. Lately, though, I could sense the clouds gathering more often. She had begun watching me differently. Her eyes would narrow when I stayed quiet too long. Her voice would carry a hint of suspicion when she asked casual questions. "You've been spending a lot of time at home lately, haven't you? Or, did you move my lipstick? It's not where I left it." I always had an answer ready. Some excuse, some harmless explanation. But Naomi wasn't naive. And if she ever discovered what I'd been hiding, what I'd been becoming, I honestly didn't know how she'd react. That uncertainty made everything feel dangerous. But strangely, it also made it thrilling. As I stared at my reflection that night, something inside me shifted. For once, I didn't want to hide. If only for a few hours, I wanted to be this person fully. Just tonight. I deserved that much. I walked quietly across the wooden floor toward the bedroom, my heels sinking softly into the rug and muffling the sound of each step. My body moved differently without me thinking about it. My hips swayed slightly as I walked, my posture changing in ways that felt natural. It wasn't the clothes changing me. It felt more like they were setting something free. My hand slid open Naomi's dresser drawer. A small voice in my head warned me not to do it. But I ignored it. Inside sat her favorite perfume. The bottle was elegant and familiar. The scent was soft but seductive, vanilla layered with jasmine. My hands trembled as I sprayed a small amount onto my wrists and neck. The fragrance surrounded me instantly. In the mirror, I watched myself react to it. My shoulders relaxed. My chin lifted slightly. Even my breathing slowed. Without thinking, I reached for her pearl earrings and clipped them on. The pressure pinched my ears slightly, making me wince before I adjusted them. Then my eyes landed on the final touch. Her lipstick. Bright red. Bolder than anything I'd ever worn before. Maybe too bold. But tonight wasn't about playing safe. Carefully, I traced the color across my lips, filling them in slowly. The rich shade transformed my reflection instantly, giving my face a new confidence. When I stepped back from the mirror, my breath caught. I wasn't Naomi. And I wasn't pretending to be her. I was simply me. The woman I had buried for so long. Something inside me shifted as I stood there. My posture straightened. My movements slowed. There was a new elegance in the way I walked across the room, in the way I sat on the edge of the bed and crossed my legs. The feeling was exhilarating. But underneath it all lingered a darker thought. What if she walked in right now? Would she laugh? Would she shout? Would she leave? The idea squeezed the air from my lungs. My hands began trembling again. This version of me felt fragile and exposed. But it also felt honest. More honest than I had ever been before. I walked toward the window and stared out at the glowing city lights below. Cars moved through the streets like rivers of headlights. People walked along the sidewalks, strangers living their lives without realizing someone was standing above them, quietly questioning everything about who they were. A man in a dress. Or maybe a woman who had spent too many years pretending to be someone else. For the first time, the thought crossed my mind that this wasn't just a hidden fantasy. Maybe this was the real me. Maybe the rest had just been the disguise. I was about to return to the mirror when a sudden sound broke the silence. A knock. 3 short taps against the door. Then nothing. My body instantly went rigid. Cold fear spread through me. My hand pressed against my chest, clutching the soft fabric of the dress as if it might shield me somehow. Who was it? My thoughts spiraled wildly. A neighbor? A delivery driver? Naomi? Oh, she had her keys. She would only knock if he forgot them. He got locked out. Or worse. She already knew. Panic surged through me. I rushed toward the bedroom, my heels striking the floor loudly as I fumbled with my earrings, trying to remove them. My other hand grabbed for makeup wipes, desperate to erase the lipstick. My heart pounded violently. But before I could do anything else, the door opened. It didn't slam. It opened slowly. Too slowly. I froze halfway between the bedroom and the hallway, my lipstick-stained fingers gripping the doorframe. Then I heard it. The sound of heels. Her heels. She was home. Naomi. The apartment fell into a suffocating silence except for the steady rhythm of her steps moving across the floor. Clack. 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 Each step echoed like a countdown. She wasn't supposed to be back yet. And I was still standing there wearing her dress, her heels, her lipstick. There was no cheerful greeting. No casual, "I'm home." Only silence. Heavy, deliberate silence. He was stretching the moment, letting the tension build. My mind raced for an escape. Maybe I could run to the bathroom. Lock the door. Pretend this was all some kind of joke. But I knew Naomi too well. She didn't stumble into surprises. She created them. Finally her voice drifted in from the living room. Calm. Smooth. Almost amused. Funny. I don't remember leaving the lamp on. My fingers tightened around the frame. I still couldn't move. She began walking again, slowly moving through the apartment. Past the kitchen. Past the living room. Pose it. My heart pounded so hard it felt like it might break through my ribs. And then, she appeared, turning the corner into the hallway. Her eyes landed on me instantly. Naomi stopped. But she didn't look shocked. Not even surprised. Her lips curved slightly, forming a small, knowing smile. She folded her arms across her chest, manicured nails tapping lightly against her sleeve. Well, she said softly, her voice almost playful. Look at you. I tried to speak, but my throat had completely closed. No words came out. She tilted her head and began walking toward me, her heels echoing against the floor just like mine. Her perfume drifted through the air, stronger than the one I had sprayed on myself. Sharper. More commanding. Instinctively I stepped backward. And again. Until I was retreating into the bedroom. She followed calmly, her eyes examining every detail. The dress. The lipstick. The heels. Her gaze lingered thoughtfully. Is that my perfume? She asked casually. There was no anger in her voice. Only curiosity. Like someone studying an interesting experiment. I nodded slowly. My mouth was too dry to form words. And my lipstick, she added. I nodded again. A quiet laugh slipped from her lips. Soft. Almost condescending. Wow, she murmured. You even chose the right shade. She walked toward the mirror while I stood frozen behind her, unsure whether I should run or collapse. Naomi studied my reflection carefully. Both of us stared back from the glass, her calm, confident presence, and my terrified, exposed one behind her. You really committed to the look, she said lightly, brushing her fingers across the vanity. Then she glanced at me through the mirror. Tell me something. Her voice softened slightly. Was this your first time? I slowly shook my head. Her eyes lifted suddenly and met mine through the mirror. For a moment neither of us moved. Then her smile grew wider. Not your first time, huh? She asked quietly. So how many times has this happened? My throat tightened. I'm not sure. She nodded slowly, like someone analyzing an answer in a therapy session. You're not sure, she repeated thoughtfully. Interesting. Then she turned around to face me fully. There was no shouting. No anger. Just control. You didn't just wear my clothes, Naomi said calmly as she stepped closer. You kept a secret from me. I opened my mouth to explain, but she lifted a finger to my lips before a word could escape. No excuses. Her voice sharpened slightly. You've been sneaking around behind my back, borrowing my clothes, using my makeup, pretending to be something you aren't. Each word felt like a needle. Yet she didn't sound cruel. She sounded calculated, like someone evaluating a situation. She stepped away again and folded her arms. You know what the strangest part is? She asked. I shook my head slowly. Naomi studied me from head to toe. You actually look kind of pretty, she admitted almost reluctantly. Her eyes narrowed thoughtfully. Not convincing enough to fool someone up close, she added. But with the right effort, maybe. I didn't know whether to feel insulted or relieved. She leaned in slightly, lowering her voice. But if you're going to play this game behind my back, she murmured, locking eyes with me, then you should be prepared to live it. My mind struggled to understand. It. Naomi smiled. You want to play dress up? She said lightly. Fine. She walked past me toward the closet. Then I'll play along too. Clothes started landing on the bed. A tighter dress. A corset. Stockings. Heels even taller than the ones I was already wearing. My stomach twisted. No more hiding, she said while digging through a makeup bag. If you're going to wear these things, you'll do it properly. And I'm going to make sure of that. I took a nervous step back. Naomi, wait. She spun around instantly. Oh no, she interrupted. You don't get to talk right now. Her eyes hardened. You broke my trust. You lied to me. She pointed toward the bed. So now I'm in charge. Her voice dropped into something quieter. You want to look like a girl tonight? She asked. Then you'll behave like one. The weight of her words pressed down on me. Every step. Every minute. Her gaze burned into mine. You're going to remember it. She picked up a pair of black lace panties and held them out. Put these on. I froze. But eventually, I obeyed. The delicate lace slid over my skin and settled around my hips. The moment felt strange and heavy, like crossing some invisible line. Naomi didn't look angry anymore. She looked focused. Almost fascinated. Next came the corset. Then the tighter dress. She pulled the zipper up slowly, smirking as the fabric hugged tightly around my ribs. After that she adjusted everything. My makeup. False lashes. My hair, twisting it carefully into soft curls secured with clips. All the while she spoke gently, almost like someone dressing a doll. There we go, she whispered finally, stepping back to admire her work. Now you actually look like the pretty little thing you were trying to be. My hands trembled. Part of me hated this moment. Another part of me couldn't deny how real it felt. I stared at the mirror. The person staring back didn't feel like the same person from earlier. She looked softer. More composed. But also, controlled. Naomi walked over and lifted my chin with 2 fingers. You'll do exactly what I say tonight, she said quietly. No arguing. Her breath brushed my ear. If you're going to pretend to be someone else, she whispered, you're going to feel every second of it. Her words lingered in the room. And suddenly I understood something unsettling. This wasn't just punishment. It was possession. And the night hadn't even begun yet. The sun had already disappeared when Naomi finally spoke again. I sat stiffly on the edge of the bed, corset tight, makeup perfect, heart racing. She walked slowly around me like a queen inspecting something she owned. Her heels clicked steadily against the wooden floor. I told you tonight would be memorable, she said softly behind me. Her hands rested briefly on my shoulders. But you still think this ends tonight, don't you? I couldn't answer. She chuckled quietly. You'll learn. She walked to the closet and pulled something out. A pale pink coat. Then a purse. My heart nearly stopped. "You're not staying home tonight," she said. "What?" I whispered. Naomi smiled calmly. "You wanted to dress like this." He tossed the purse into my hands. "So now you're going to live it." Panic surged. "I can't go outside like this," I said quickly. "What if someone sees?" "Oh, someone will." Her voice remained dangerously calm. "That's the point." Before I could protest again, she slipped the coat over my shoulders. "I'm in control tonight," she reminded me. "Look in the mirror." My hands shook as I reapplied my lip gloss. The reflection staring back looked like someone glamorous. Like someone's girlfriend. "This feels wrong," I whispered. Naomi grabbed her keys. "No," she replied quietly. "This is just the part of you that stopped hiding." Then she opened the door. "Let's go." The cafe was small and softly lit. Couples sat outside under strings of tiny lights. Meanwhile, my heart pounded like a drum. Naomi walked confidently beside me while I clutched the purse nervously. We sat down at a table. "Pick something sweet," she said. "I'm not hungry." "You'll eat." Her smile returned. "Smile too. Just like a good girlfriend." The word hit hard. Girlfriend. Was that what everyone thought? A waiter approached soon after. "Good evening, ladies," he said politely. "Ladies." My voice almost disappeared when I spoke. "Strawberry tart," I muttered. Naomi giggled after he left. "That was adorable." I stared at her helplessly. "Why are you doing this?" Her expression softened briefly. "Because you kept a whole part of yourself hidden from me," she said. "And now I want to see if you can live it in the open." Later that night, the apartment door closed behind us again. I stood trembling. Naomi quietly removed my hairpins one by one. Then the lashes. Then the coat. Her touch felt strangely gentle now. "I wasn't just punishing you," she said softly. "I was showing you something." "What?" I asked weakly. "That hiding yourself forever isn't possible." Tears filled my eyes. "I don't know who I am anymore." Naomi brushed my cheek lightly. "We'll figure it out," she whispered. "Together." Morning sunlight filled the room. Naomi handed me a cup of coffee. "Morning, beautiful." The word made my chest tighten. She leaned against the counter casually. "You should stay like this for a while," she suggested. "What?" "It suits you." My heart raced. "I did that because you forced me." She shook her head slowly. "No. I challenged you." Then she showed me something on her phone. Photos. Dozens of them from the cafe. Every angle. Every moment. My breath caught. "You wouldn't send those to anyone," I said quietly. She met my gaze calmly. "Accept who you are," she said. "Or maybe I will." Days later, she handed me an invitation. A family gathering. My stomach dropped. "You're coming with me." Her family believed the story instantly. They said we looked like twins. But that night I saw someone else watching from across the garden. Naomi's ex. His stare felt cold. "You think she actually cares about you?" he muttered. Naomi stepped between us. "Leave." But his final words stayed with me long after he left. Puppets break. Later I confronted Naomi. "You only did this to get revenge on him." She didn't deny it. At first. My heart sank. "But somewhere along the way," she added quietly, "I saw who you really are." I shook my head. "You created this." "No," she whispered. "I just uncovered it." I stood in front of the mirror again that night. Red dress. Makeup. Jewelry. The reflection looking back at me seemed calmer now. Almost accepting. Naomi appeared behind me holding a necklace. "Put it on," she said gently. "If you do." She paused. "It means you choose this life with me." I stared at the mirror. At her. At the person staring back. Slowly. I reached for the necklace.